Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose on a partly cloudy day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And as always, every Thursday, we have on Sporting News college football writer Bill Bender. And he joins us today just a little earlier than usual, but he's a busy man. We got him locked up here. So how you doing here, Bill?
Hey, I'm doing well, and happy early Halloween. We do trick-or-treat a few nights earlier here in Ohio, so I appreciate you having me on a little bit early.
No problem at all. So I guess we could just do some happy Halloween talk, but I'm going to go into probably something a little more darker, which is that what you wrote about yesterday, actually, about Minnesota head coach Jerry Kill retiring. It was very touching and heartbreaking. Could you tell us a little bit about Coach Jerry Kill and his situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he retires yesterday because he had a couple seizures this week, and that's always scary. And the thing that stood out to me with Jerry Kill, and, you know, I'm a working class kid too, grew up in a working class family, and he was kind of the working class coach. I mean, he went for 30 years, got a shot at Northern Illinois, got a shot at Minnesota, worked through health problems, which is admirable. And it was tough to watch his press conference yesterday. I remember talking to him at Big Ten Media Day, and you know, he's one of those coaches that comes across as genuine. I love the style, the way they play. And it's just one of those deals where of all the coaches that have left this year, I think that one touched me a little bit more than the other ones, just because I think he's one of those guys you want to root for.
Definitely. And he has a toughness to him, but it never came across as fake. And you wrote about that as well. The true genuine personality of head coach Jerry Kill.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to be tough. I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, he had kidney cancer in 2005, and then you're dealing with something, you know, epilepsy, that is something I don't have a grasp on. But, you know, for him to fight through that. And again, I think it was reflected in the way Minnesota played. I mean, if you watched them the last few years, he built them into a tough and physical team that was able to beat Nebraska, was able to hang with Wisconsin, was able to beat Michigan. I mean, and that was the goal. So, for them to replace him, it's going to be tough. I think Saturday will be interesting. It'll be an emotional game against Michigan, another physical game they're going to get into. But, you know, as far as Jerry Kill, you just hope that at 54 years old, that's what also stands out, that he's able to, you know, get his health together, live a quality life the rest of the way, and maybe still, you know, find a way to fit in football somehow.
As special regards to him, and our thoughts and prayers go to him and to his family. I have a question about Baylor. Seth Russell injures his neck, and it's going to require surgery, and his junior season is coming to a close here. What does this mean for Baylor? Is this a plug-and-play situation that they have over there with Art Briles, or is this actually going to affect them and derail them?
Well, it's going to affect them. I don't know about derail them. I know it'll affect them because Seth Russell was playing at a borderline Heisman level, putting up big numbers. I mean, the good news is Jarrett Stidham, you know, he comes in as Baylor's highest-ranked quarterback recruit under Art Briles, and they have all those weapons around him. I mean, Corey Coleman, good as you can have at receiver. Katie Cannon, also very good, and Shock Linwood. They're still going to play at a high level. I think, Keon, the best news for them is that they have kind of this bye week to get ready, and I think you and I and everybody else is going to be watching with a really close eye when they play at Kansas State next Thursday. That's one of those games where we're going to find out how good that offense can be with Jarrett Stidham under center.
That's going to be definitely very, very interesting to see. Seth Russell had an impassioned speech during a weightlifting session this week, and so I feel for him because of how well he was playing. Have you ever been able to talk to any players when they've had to deal with those kinds of situations? Like, do you know how hard that is on them?
Well, you know, it's got to be tough. I mean, if you look at Ohio State last year, they turned that into a bonus. I mean, if you've been around their team a little bit this year, and obviously the emotions that Braxton Miller had when he returned this year to the Virginia Tech game is very similar. And you know, you look at their situation now, JT Barrett's under center now. So it can work. And that's kind of the, you know, in this college football playoff age, it's kind of scary to think that might be the precedent. It'll be interesting to see if Baylor can make a similar run this year. But that's part of the game, and you never want to see. I've always said, and there's been so many injuries this year, I've always said that it's worse when you lose a college player for the season because it's not the NFL. An NFL guy will come back the next year, make his whatever $1 million. These kids are playing. They only have 4 years to do it, and when they go down like that, it's always something you don't want to see.
Especially considering that this is his junior season, and you've only got the senior year left after this one to try and make something of it. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Joining me is Bill Bender, national college football writer for Sporting News, and we're going to change gears here a little bit and talk about the SEC, but more specifically for many Georgia fans in this area. This is Florida week, and it's a huge rivalry. And Jim McElwain's been in a few big rivalries. The Colorado State stands out in particular. But when it comes to a rivalry of this size, and this is his first year inside of this rivalry, does that affect the way that a coach prepares?
That might a little. I mean, he'll get the first taste of it. Obviously, Florida won this game last year, and kind of, everybody was pushing Will Muschamp out the door, and he ended up going out the door, and Florida's still able to. That game last year, Keon, I'm not joking. I look back at last year. That's one of the most hard to understand games that Florida came in, rushed for 500 yards and beat Georgia, and that's what happens in rivalry games. So I think very similar situation this week. Both teams fighting for the SEC East Championship, fighting for a chance to go to Atlanta. I think it's going to be a really close game. I like Florida just a little bit more, and the key to this game will be Treon Harris. Can he, kind of build on what he did against LSU? He played well. So I think Florida's got a chance to win this game. It's going to be tight. It always is. This game's always fun to watch. One of the SEC's more underrated rivalries. But certainly Jim McElwain will get a first taste of it, and it'll be interesting to see how he responds.
I think what a lot of Bulldog fans want to know, because Florida is a little bit favored in this game, and certainly because of their ability to play defense and their ability to run the ball. Last year, you mentioned the 500 yards. 200 of those yards basically came from Kelvin Taylor, who's back again to probably haunt the nightmares of Mark Richt. What do the Bulldogs do to try and slow down the Gators?
Well, I think Georgia's defense a little bit better this year. I've been impressed with their defense most of the time. The Alabama and Tennessee games with, you scratch those out of that argument, I suppose. But, Georgia's going to have to run the football too. And obviously that's a little bit different when you don't have Nick Chubb. But I think, it's going to be one of those games where both teams kind of load the box a little bit, make quarterbacks make some plays in the passing game. And it sounds as simple as that. And the quarterback maybe that makes one or two more, maybe hits a receiver in the fourth quarter is going to make the difference. I anticipate this will be a field goal game. I did pick Florida to win. But again, it's one of those games that I think, you better keep it on the television because it'll go down to the last 2 minutes.
Oh, definitely. I feel like that's the one to probably key in on if you're just an SEC fan in general. Winner basically gets to punch their ticket to the championship game just based on how out of it the rest of the SEC East is. For the languishing Tennessee fan.
Totally agree. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for the languishing Tennessee fan that still believes that there is the hint of hope that they could somehow come out of the SEC East, is it possible down the road that South Carolina or Vanderbilt could beat Georgia, or is that a pipe dream?
I mean, you never know. It's not impossible, but then obviously they're going to need that help. I did a thing for us this week of the 10 teams that are, under 500 looking to try to still get in the bowl game. Looking at Tennessee's schedule, I don't see a reason why they don't run the table and they go 8-4 and they learn from obviously a lot of close losses this year. Obviously, a lot of criticism for that. They played so well against Alabama, they just didn't finish. So I think this is a team that goes 8-4, and then, you never want to be in a position to have somebody else help you out, like a South Carolina, a Vanderbilt, whoever. But there's a chance, and the best chance they could have is if they go ahead and win out.
Oh, they definitely have to do that. And what their next opponent is Kentucky. That's not, a gimme, but that's definitely probably their most difficult game that they have left.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Looking at the schedule, I mean, there's no reason to believe that they can't go 8-4. And then, just for fun, let's think of a scenario where everybody has 3 SEC losses. Obviously, I don't have that sheet in front of me right now, and I'd get a headache just looking at it. But I'm sure all the tiebreakers would be interesting to see if Tennessee could wiggle back into Atlanta. But what I want to see from the SEC East champion is, are you going to take advantage this year? I mean, it's been a while since they've won the SEC championship game. Obviously, all the focus is on the SEC West. And at what point does a Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, whoever, step up and go to Atlanta and win that game?
I'm talking to Bill Bender, national college football writer for Sporting News. West Virginia and TCU play tonight. Trayvon Boykin doesn't look like a real person. He plays like he's out of an NCAA video game. But West Virginia does have the opportunity to pull off an upset. How good are their chances?
Oh, I mean, this is one of those wacky, wild Big 12 games. I think on the road they're going to be up against it. I think TCU, despite the injuries they've had on defense, like you said, Trayvon Boykin's kind of put that team on his back. I think he's one of the two best quarterbacks in the country right now, and you can flip a coin. I think it's Trayvon Boykin and Connor Cook for Michigan State. And, this is another chance for TCU maybe to make a statement. I know everybody's going to be watching. I'll certainly be watching. And I think this TCU team's good enough to win the Big 12. The thing is, with this race now, TCU's got injuries. You got Baylor losing their quarterback. You got to start looking at Oklahoma. Even though they lost to Texas, they're going to be right in the mix there till the end.
Oklahoma. You know what? I feel like because they lost to Texas, they drifted out of my mind a little bit in terms of being able to come away with that. But
that was a rivalry game. See, and that will be judged at the end of the year. But they kind of got on track with the running game. You saw them, win big last week, and I think with the way the Big 12 was set up, and I didn't even mention Oklahoma State. You got 4 teams. They're all going to basically do a round robin in November. It's exciting football, and that's why I think the Big 12 will end up getting a playoff spot if they can come out of that, I guess, with 1 loss or less.
That makes a lot of sense. That really does.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it, So one last question before we have to get out of here. What is your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh man, it's got to be. It's chocolate for starters. I mean, everything else is a waste of time. And then,
of course,
Butterfinger. It's always been the one. I'll be pushing my son Grant to get in there. Don't be afraid to get the chocolate out of there, and then go from there. But always, I'm not saying it's just because it's today. It's my favorite holiday of the the fall winter holidays. I've always enjoyed Halloween and going out and having fun with the kids.
Well, I hope that you enjoy that, sir. This is Bill Bender, Sporting News national college football writer, joining us on the show today. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Have a happy early Halloween, sir.
Hey, thanks, Keon. We'll talk again next week. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was Bill Bender of Sporting News. He, busy man, had to go do some early Halloween things with his son. So I hope they enjoy that. I've learned a lot again. And look, here's the thing that I see the most in terms of Florida versus Georgia. There are 2 defenses here that are both very, very good, and 2 teams that really love to run the football. Whoever figures out how to run first wins. I mean, that's ultimately where we're coming from. And like Bill said, it's going to be tough to do without Chubb. If you're Georgia, you're going to be missing Nick Chubb, and that's going to be a huge, impactful loss for you. But at the same time, Georgia still runs the football extremely well. Sony Michel back there, they still can run the football incredibly well. The team that figures out how to run the football first wins that game. They just do. And winner basically, barring some obscene web-like scenario whereupon several losses that can't really realistically be expected to happen, barring all of those things, the winner of this game takes the cake, basically. You take the SEC East, and you get an opportunity to play in the SEC championship game, and that at that point, you got to represent. And I think that that's been the thing that we haven't been able to see out of the SEC as of very recently, is that they just did not represent after they won the SEC title game. You know, and with the 14 playoff, winner of that game is probably going to be the only team representing the SEC. Haven't really seen much of a reason for them to give multiple teams from a single conference representation. We just haven't seen that. But as always, Bill Bender, great guest to have. He's going to be on next Thursday, and we'll talk more college football here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. This week, we take a step back from politics, business, and global events to speak with well-being expert Deepak Chopra. We've all had the experience of feeling invisible at a party, at work, or at home. Join us as we discover what to do when we feel invisible this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
If you're not following Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, you missed it. I was doing pretend batting practice in our very, very spacious radio booth here at Hot News Talk Radio. Fun times. I love baseball. I mean, it's just a really fun sport to watch. I think I am probably the anomaly for my age group of person in their 20s that really enjoys baseball. But I really enjoy baseball. Like, I don't need the fastest game ever. I actually like a game where I can watch it. I tweet during games, You can follow me at Sports Cloud, or if you tweet at Hot News Talk Radio, mention me. We'll talk. I just chat with the people, usually while I watch games. So I tweet during games. I say I tweet during Redskins games, but lately I have been so angry and out of it that I actually can't tweet while the Redskins are playing. I don't know what I might say. I'm not trying to get fired. So, like future employers need to see that and see that, oh, this person has their emotions in check. I can't tweet during Redskins games. I can barely talk. Okay, my girlfriend does not actually enjoy watching Redskins games with me because it's not a fun experience. I took her out to watch a game with me one time because I thought it would be a fun experience, not realizing that, 3 back-to-back interceptions from Kirk Cousins turns me into the Incredible Hulk, apparently, and I turn into a giant green rage monster. That's really all that happens there. So I'm not tweeting during the Redskins games, but other people's games that I am not emotionally invested in, I can tweet all day. And I do. I tweet very often, and sometimes they're funny. So at Sports Cloud is my Twitter handle. You can talk there. You can send us a message on Facebook. I am one of the admins for the Facebook page, so I'll see it. And I'll talk to you. You can talk to Russell. You can talk to Mr. Judd. We're all there. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook and Twitter. So I was thinking about the Royals yesterday because I was watching the game and I was watching something incredible happen, and I'm not sure how often this has happened. Like, I was looking it up and I guess there was just not a perfect way to search it in Google. And so I couldn't really find what I was looking for, but two things happened, which is the Royals are really, really good at pitching. Ironically, they're not better than the Mets. The Mets have the advantage at pitching entirely, but the Royals are good enough, and they hit incredibly well. The Royals don't miss. They don't miss. The Royals swung on and missed 3 pitches last night. Just 3. They didn't strike out 3 times. They missed 3. 3 pitches. That's all that they missed. Only 3. Which is crazy to me, to think that you're pitching against a guy like Jacob deGrom, or you're hitting against a guy like Jacob deGrom. The Mets run him out there. deGrom has been dominating people, not just all postseason, like really all season. deGrom's been great. And he pitches at you and you only miss 3 times all night. And that's why the Royals continue to move forward. Like, the reason why is because they put the ball in play. Like, anything can happen once you put the ball in play. And let's be honest here, Kansas City's got a huge park. They've got a big park. And I wonder if going to New York is going to change some things because the Mets have a smaller park. Like, that is a big old space out there that's the reason why there's an in the park home run happening in game 1 of the World Series. That park is huge. That place is enormous. Like, you are in center field or out in left field, and the ball goes over the top of your head and rolls up to the warning track. When you go to throw that back, I mean, you're throwing that a distance, and unless you have a cannon, I think anything can happen. That's why the Royals are here. They may not be necessarily the most offensively powerful team in baseball, and they certainly don't have the best pitching. They've got a decent enough bullpen. They've got a good enough bullpen. And that's why it was huge last night. That the other thing that interested me in the Royals was their pitching. That Johnny Cueto showed up. Johnny Cueto played really well. He was only hit twice. And Johnny Cueto went all 9 innings. If Cueto goes 9 innings, that's less people that you need to use, and you're Ned Yost. You're relieved. You don't need to use anybody else. You can just relax. The Royals continue, at least to astound me. Like, maybe it's just me, and I just don't watch enough Royals baseball, but I'm shocked that they can keep winning like that. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose, and I'm talking right now about my confusion with the Kansas City Royals, because their strategy appears to be, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Royals' strategy appears to be, let's just get the ball in play and see what happens. And then they do things that are just a little bit odd. Like they'll bunt when it makes no sense to bunt. And I don't know what it is that they have in that deep hat of theirs, but look, it seems to be working. It's like it seems to be working, whatever it is that they're doing. And it just seems like it stems off of, like, let's just get the ball in play. And once it's in play, we'll figure it out afterwards. We'll figure it out later. Like, let's just get guys on base. And then once they're there, we'll figure it out. Like, to me, that's not a real strategy. Like, let's just have the ball in motion, and then whatever happens. And then, like, they've been completely fortunate in a lot of cases. The Mets have had some errors that are either head scratching or just fluky, and the Royals, like, they roll on. They move on. They continue to live in situations where it doesn't make any sense. And I wonder, the game becomes that much more random in my mind when the park is bigger. And that park is huge. There's just more space for the ball to roll around after you've messed up. If you're playing out in the outfield and you've messed up and the ball rolls away from you, you are on an island by yourself. You are alone. And you are trying to throw the ball back to civilization where there are people, and that's a long, long way away. I can't tell you if that's a legitimate strategy or not. It seems to be working for the Royals. But does that change when you go back to New York? Park's a little smaller. There's not as much randomness that can happen. I don't know. But here's the thing, though. Because the Royals have been hitting the ball so well, and they've actually been hitting the ball very far, which would not be a home run in their own park, but let's face it, like, they're hits that they have that are triples and doubles that in a smaller park would be a home run. You know, they're pulling it to the left, but you pull stuff to the right in say in Yankee Stadium, the way the Royals hit, some of those are homers. So, and what other sport can do that, by the way, outside of baseball? Just AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Baseball is a confusing game. That's why I like it. It's confusing not in terms of what it is, like structurally. It's confusing in terms of the things that baseball has that other sports don't have. My field of play in baseball can actually be physically larger than your field of play. That doesn't happen in other sports. You can't have an NFL field that is larger than another team's NFL field. You're not allowed to do that because it wouldn't make sense in that sport. Okay, the Spurs played the Thunder last night. They can't have a bigger stadium. They can't have a bigger court in San Antonio than what they have in Oklahoma City. You can't do that. That's not a thing. But you can in baseball. You can have a bigger field of play. You can have a bigger field. You can have your stadium up against the bay, which is going to affect how far the ball flies when it's in the air. You can have a smaller stadium. You can be inside of a dome, which you can do in football. Football has you can play outside, you can play inside component, but that's about it. Baseball, like the field of play can change. Houston's got that little hill out in center field that just goes up for no adequately explained reason. Boston's got the Green Monster. It's just a giant wall. I mean, the baseball makes no sense in terms of I am actually allowed to have a different field. Like, regulation is a window. it has to be between this and this. Regulation is not necessarily a hard line. Okay, that a football field is 100, was it 110 yards? It's 110 or 120. And they're all that. Whatever the number is, they're all that size. Okay, they don't change in size. Okay, it changes in size from league to league. The Canadian Football League has a wider field than the American National Football League, but no sport has, my field is actually physically larger than yours. And so I play differently because my field is larger than yours. That's the reason why the Royals end up getting built the way that they get built as a baseball team. That you put on that team a bunch of guys who can hit because you're in a big park. It's known as a pitcher's park. Because the park is big, hits that would normally be home runs aren't. And so a pitcher of a quote-unquote lower quality is still technically going to do a pretty decent job. He's not going to give up home runs. Like, they'll be just the off, Alex Gordon, what he did in game one, just the one solo shot, like he just stood up there and just slapped it out of the park right down the center and the longest part of the field. But that'll happen. That'll happen. You build your team to have hitters on it because your park is big. And then you don't worry so much about that pitching stuff. And then they bring in Johnny Cueto to try and boost their pitching, and mixed reviews for Mr. Cueto. When he was originally traded to the team from the Reds, Johnny was bad. Like, he wasn't good. And we were like, well, that was a pointless trade. And then you end up getting to the playoffs. They get to game 5 against the Astros of that series, and Johnny Cueto just stops the Astros. They could not hit him. He just stopped them. And you're like, oh, good, Johnny. And then, 3 days later, Johnny Cueto gets lit up like a Christmas tree. And then you're like, oh, bad Johnny. And then, in this series, game 2, Johnny Cueto only gets hit twice, goes all 9 innings. Good Johnny. I don't know what you get out of Johnny Cueto literally anytime he comes to the mound. I have no clue what to tell you about that one. No idea. None. It's seemingly random. Just Johnny Cueto comes to the mound, and you might as well be playing Russian roulette. You might as well be playing Russian roulette because you don't know if you're going to get good Johnny or bad Johnny. It's like in Batman when you had Two-Face, and Two-Face would flip a coin to figure out whatever outcome of whatever crime he was going to commit would be. Like, if Two-Face wanted to shoot you, he wouldn't just shoot you. He would flip a coin, and if it's heads, you die, and if it's tails, you live. That's what Johnny Cueto pitching is like. Johnny Cueto gets up there, and you could just go ahead and flip a coin on that one. Because I can't tell you what's going to happen. I know Ned Yost, the manager of the team, can't tell you what's going to happen. And I'm fairly certain Johnny Cueto can't tell you what's going to happen. So none of us know. That's the fun of it, I guess. Unless you're a Royals fan. I don't know how you make it out of those things without a heart attack. Like, when you start to see Johnny Cueto rolling, you're like, okay, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. But if the game starts and Johnny Cueto gives up a homer immediately, I'm sorry. I am so sorry for you. I feel for you. I empathize for you and with you. I don't know what to tell you about Johnny Cueto, except that when he's pitching great, I like him and he's fun to watch. That's all I got. That's the perfect sports radio analysis to end this segment on. When Johnny Cueto is pitching good, I like him. I don't have anything deeper than that for you. I could tell you about all the different pitches that he's got and all of those things, but what would be the point, really? Johnny Cueto could go out the next time out and give up 5 homers, and I wouldn't be able to tell you that that's not how Johnny usually is. There's no baseline. None whatsoever. This is Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Social media, we're on that. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Download the TuneIn app and follow us anywhere at any time. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
So I was reading an article on Deadspin.com during the break because I was trying to make sure that this thing that I said about the Royals and their random things that they do, that I was not incorrect about that. And you know what? I was not incorrect about that. Lorenzo Cain, last night, bunting. There's a man on second base. There's nobody out in the 8th inning. Oh, this wasn't last night. This was from game 1. The score is 4-3. Okay? And you've only got a 1-run lead here. You've got a man on second. Lorenzo Cain bunts. Why? Like, that's the position. That is a situation. Like, if you just go situational baseball, that is a situation where you do not bunt. You avoid bunting like it was a disease. You just avoid bunting. Okay? You avoid it at all costs and at all measures. Do not, under any situation where you're only up by a single run, you have a man on second, and there are already no outs, do not bunt there. Lorenzo Cain bunts. And people were asking Ned Yost, the manager, after the game, why did you tell Lorenzo Cain to bunt there? And Ned Yost did not tell Lorenzo Cain to bunt there, which means Lorenzo Cain bunted there because he felt like it. Can you imagine that is a job that you have? Like, if you have a job and you walk into work and regardless of whatever the situation is, you just kind of do the thing that you feel like, and it's okay. It's just fine. And it's only fine. It's sports. This is why this is okay, because this is sports. And winning means it's all good. Right? Winning means it's all good. You can, if you go up there and just bunt whenever you feel like it, and it works out disastrously, which that did, or it was nearly disastrous. If you did that, most jobs you'd be fired. Most jobs you'd be looking at your boss going, I don't know, and then he'd fire you. But not in sports, where winning is the only thing that matters, and therefore it's okay to do silliness. Like, I will never forget Butch Jones and that Florida game. Like, to me, that is the most standout game of this college football season. Is Tennessee had an opportunity to beat Florida and did not take it because Butch Jones messed up on the situational football. Like situationally, he needed to go for a 2-point conversion, did not go for it, and Tennessee loses the game by a single point when, had they gone for the 2-point conversion, what Florida did, if Florida had scored the way that they did, it would have been a tie. Then you just go into overtime and you have an opportunity to win in overtime instead of just losing outright. And this is obvious and apparent to everyone. To everyone watching this game, except apparently Butch Jones. And the reason why that's not okay, he lost. I'm telling you, Butch Jones messes that up. He screws up that call. And somehow Tennessee wins. Okay, Greer throws the pass incomplete. Or any of those Tennessee defenders makes that tackle at the, the 50? And Tennessee comes away with the victory. We're not as worried about Butch Jones. He's sort of vindicated of all of the bad calls that he made, but he lost. Like, the difference between disaster or not in sports is winning and losing. And it doesn't work that way everywhere else in the world. Like, in literally every other job category, that's not at all how that works. Okay? You could say maybe the entertainment industry, like if someone uses bad judgment in making a movie and somehow the movie is successful, they'll probably make another one and hire you back. Maybe. But again, the outcome of that outcome is not necessarily winning or losing so much as, does this make us money? Which is what everybody does anyway. Like, the difference between winning and losing doesn't necessarily mean monetary gain. The difference between winning and losing is just winning and losing. And still somehow, because you're winning, it makes things better. Like, it just, for just no good reason, just makes stuff better. I can't come on here on the air and decide, you know what? I'm going to go with 30 seconds of silence here in the middle of this show. Situationally, that doesn't make any sense. And when I get a phone call on the station phone with someone telling me to speak, or Russell, the news director and host of the Digital Drive, Russell will come running into this room to make any kind of sound, because dead air is death on the radio, and I can't just stop talking because I feel like it. Or in the middle of this sports show, in the middle of this sports take, I can't just start talking about music, okay? And my love of shoegaze rock. I can't do it because it doesn't make any sense. And I will not be working here very long if I do things like that. But no, you're the Kansas City Royals. You got a man on second, no outs, and you're only up by 1. Let's bunt. Let's just do that because I can. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I just don't get it. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, and we're talking a little bit of baseball, and we're talking, we talked some college football earlier with Bill Bender of Sporting News, national college football writer, and always glad to have him on. I asked him about West Virginia and TCU tonight, and it's going to be interesting. TCU suffering some injuries here, and hoping that since the Big 12 is, I mean, it's not really wide open, but you've got 3 teams in this run for the top of the Big 12, TCU, Baylor, and Oklahoma, which surprised me that Bill said that. But if you think about it, it makes sense. If Baylor suffers a loss and TCU suffers a loss, and that's entirely possible, Baylor losing Seth Russell, TCU losing some guys, especially on defense, then it's entirely possible that Oklahoma could win the Big 12. Okay, and end up representing the Big 12 in that 4-team playoff. It's crazy. And they lost to Texas, and Texas is not good. I'm a Texas fan. I know. They're not good. But crazy things happen in rivalry games. And that's why you've got to love them and why you've got to hate them. Rivalry games, crazy things happen. Okay, teams that have been pounded for years and years and years show up into a rivalry game, and all of a sudden, they're not beatable. And that's what Texas looked like. Texas just confounded Oklahoma that day in the Red River Shootout. I mean, and that's what the beauty of those games are if your team wins. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you're kicking yourself because Texas is a team that you ought to beat. Like, just on paper, you're better than that team. You are. It hurts me deep down inside to say that. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, you got to be mad because your team is better than that Texas team that beat you. But it's a rivalry game. And that's going to be taken into account unless Baylor and TCU, if one of those teams runs the table, it's almost not going to matter. Because then you'd have to give it to whichever team ran the table. And if you're Oklahoma, you're kicking yourself because that could be you. That could be you running the table there. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. And that's the reason why. Georgia, Florida, this isn't Texas, Oklahoma, where Oklahoma is clearly better than Texas. These two teams are close. Florida, I give Florida the slight edge over Georgia. In terms of personnel. And if Georgia had Nick Chubb, I don't even know if I could give Florida the edge. It's that close. It's that close. And crazy things happen in rivalry games. So an interesting game to keep an eye on tonight for is TCU versus West Virginia. Because West Virginia can score. They like to move the ball all up and down the field, and they are very good at it. And upsets happen. And this college football season probably has proven that more than anything on earth. Upsets do happen. And when they do, we're going to sit there and go, how did that happen? But now what's done is done. What's done is done. Now, I thought West Virginia, they had a shot to make that Baylor game look good. And it was clear that the Baylor Bears were out for blood. They were out for blood, seriously. They were not, like, on fourth downs, you were just like, oh, dear heavens, Art Briles has no intention of punting the football. Not at all. They were going for it on fourth down like it was some kind of Madden game. And, when you want to beat a team by 30, that's how you do it, apparently. When you want to beat a team that can score a lot of points by 30, that's how you do it. Let's just I'm handing you 60 points. You lost. That's what Baylor does. And TCU plays offense at this similar frantic pace. So that's going to be a fun game tonight to check out if you are jonesing for some college football and you can't wait till Saturday. Is that an actual good game on tonight? Well, maybe a good game. If West Virginia hangs around, which is possible because, did you see what TCU did against Texas Tech? They squeaked away with that one. They just barely got out of that one alive. There's no reason to believe that West Virginia couldn't put up a similar scare. Like a last-second catch saved TCU. West Virginia is better at offense than Texas Tech is. So in theory, and TCU, especially with the injuries to them, but even, I guess, a little bit before then, defense, not their thing, really. They don't really play a ton of it. Just statistically, and even watching it past the eye test, not a ton. Not a ton of defense played by those Horned Frogs. And tomorrow on the show, as we do on Fridays, It's the custom that I started literally a week ago. I don't know why I said like we do on Fridays, like we've been doing it for months. But we're doing it now on Fridays. It's going to be 3 games. I dig into the big barrel of games. And I find 3 games that you need to watch this Saturday. And I was right last week on a couple of those games. A couple of those games were really good. I recommended the Arkansas-Auburn game. 4 overtimes, people. I can pick them. That's 4 overtimes of glory. You're welcome. You're welcome. So we got 3 more games coming up tomorrow that you need to keep an eye on. I pour through the numbers. I pour through the tape. I pour through the stats. And I present it to you so you don't have to. You could go to work. You could enjoy your family. You know, enjoy Halloween with the kids. And I will do the heavy lifting for you. This doesn't have to be hard. This does not have to be hard at all. I got you covered. 3 games you need to watch. That's coming up tomorrow on Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. As always, and I'm trying to get more guests for you. Never again will we be without people I like the sound of my own voice in this headset here, but I actually do like to hear other people speak. Like I actually don't want to hear myself talk for 45 minutes a day every day of the week. You know, not that there's anything wrong with it, but man, it does get tiring and because I am annoying, aren't I? I'm trying to give the people what they want. This is Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for joining me today. It's sunny outside. I encourage you to go take a walk. And I also encourage you to watch TCU West Virginia tonight. It's on Fox Sports 1, and I'll see you in 23 hours.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.